As you've just seen, I recently bought a Fuji X S10. For the past year I've been using my Fuji X-T3 as my one and only camera, as I didn't have any other. And I've used it on client shoots and personal projects. But lately it started giving me a few issues that kind of got me worried about its reliability, so I wanted to have a second camera to be able to have a backup, or also to be able to use as a big cam when shooting videos, interviews and stuff like that. I knew I wanted to get something cheap, something that wouldn't break the bank, but I didn't want to compromise too much on quality. A must for it was to be FujiFilm, of course, because all of my lenses are Fuji X-mount lenses, and I wanted it to have ibis because I love shooting handheld, and I managed to do it without ibis on the X-T3, but I really wanted to have ibis to be able to get smoother footage, especially when using my non-stabilized lenses like the Viltrox 23 or even the Viltrox 85. When it came down to it, it was between the Fuji X S10 and the Fuji X-H1. They were the only two Fujifilm cameras with ibis that are cheaper than 800 euros. The X-H1 is actually the first camera that had ibis from Fujifilm, but being 4 years old now, it has some limitations. Fuji has done a great job with upgrading it with firmware updates, making it much better than what it was when it just came out, but it still has the older sensor and the older processor, so I decided to go for the X S10. They are similarly priced. The X S10 goes from around 700 to 800 euros, while the X-H1 you can find used anywhere between 450 to 700. So the X S10, being newer, obviously has a better autofocus system. It actually has the same focusing system as the X-T4. So I knew with the X S10 I was getting much better autofocus, especially in low light, than the X-H1. And this was one of the main reasons I wanted to get it. And also I wanted to get it over the X-H1 because of reliability, because being 2 years younger than the X-H1, the chances of it failing are drastically lower. The X S10 compared to my X-T3 is a much smaller camera, but being smaller, it has better ergonomics because it has kind of a DSLR style design. It has a deep grip, which gives you obviously a better grip and more stability when using it, and it feels comfortable even when using bigger lenses like the Viltrox 85, which is actually bigger than the X S10 body. One thing I don't like with the body is that the SD card slot and the battery are in the same place. I like more having specific slots for each, but it's not a deal breaker or a big issue. Another thing I don't like with this is this switch to close it and open it. Unlike the X-T3, this is not spring loaded, so you have to lock it every time you close it, but it's nothing major. Being more of a DSLR style camera, it doesn't have the standard top dials as the X-T3 or X-T4, but it has a normal dial, a dial like you would find on most modern cameras, with your manual aperture priority, shutter priority and P modes. It has 4 custom modes which come in really handy, and it also has a dedicated video switch, but you can still use the shutter button to start and stop video recording when in video mode. When it comes to video with this camera, obviously, as I said, I really like the ibis and I like using it handheld. There are 2 things I don't like on it compared to the X-T3. One is the lack of 4K 60 frames per second. So it does shoot 4K 24 and 4K 30 frames per second, and it shoots full HD 60 frames per second, which is still decent. I've used it and I'm really impressed with how good it is, but I would still love to have 4K just for the ability to crop and for the higher quality. And the second thing I miss when it comes to video is having 10-bit footage. So this thing only shoots 8-bit, it does shoot f-log, and it shoots at 200 megabytes per second, which is still quite high, so I'm happy with that. And even shooting 8-bit, I was really impressed with the footage. If you watch my X-T3 review, it was filmed with the X S10. The whole video was shot with one continuous take, where the cloud coverage was coming in and out, and there was some really harsh light and then cloud covered skies. So I had to correct the footage a lot, and it held up really great, at least in my opinion. I've had this thing only a couple of weeks and shot a few videos with it and 1 or 2 photo shoots. And honestly, with what I've seen so far, I'm really happy with the results. I'm looking forward to use this camera more in the future. I am taking it on its first client shoot tomorrow. I will have my X-T3 in my bag just in case, but I am planning to shoot the whole thing with the X S10, and I know it will do great. I am looking forward to use it much more on both private and client shoots, and I may even do a full review on it in a couple of months.